This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everyone. We continue in Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. We are up to Ois Yud Tes. Just a word on Ois Yud Ches, where the Orchos Chaim said not to converse Sicha B'Tela, and one should be careful to learn at night until they fall asleep from Divrei Torah and not mitoch Sicha B'Tela. So it's interesting. We quoted from the Chazon Ish that the Chazon Ish was one to say that the definition of Sicha B'Tela is already at 10 minutes worth. That was confirmed by other Svarim that in fact report that Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that the Chazon Ish said that the shir is 10 minutes. Others report the Chazon Ish told some Gedolim it's 30 minutes. Apparently it's not a set threshold, which means as follows. There is a certain basic human need to speak, and a person cannot muzzle themselves completely, and whatever is needed for sort of healthy interaction and healthy human living is okay, is acceptable, and beyond that is considered Sicha B'Tela. But there's a special hakpada that before one goes to sleep, one should try to sleep from learning and not to fall asleep from foolishness. Sif Oisyotes Shela Yachnis Atzmoi B'Safek Chashecha. One should not enter a doubtful situation of darkness. In other words, don't put yourself in a situation where you may infringe on Shabbos, even Safek Shabbos. V'yazir b'nei Beisai al Shmir Shabbos. You should warn the people of your household about keeping the Shabbos. In other words, what it's saying here is that one should not put themselves in a situation where they may go into a Safek Shabbos. People tend to leave things for the last second, and one should make sure that they don't compromise their observance of Shabbos, and they should remind their family members as well. And v'yakdim l'spalel Erev Shabbos tfilas Mincha, you should daven Mincha early on Friday, kedei sheyikabel alav haShabbos mi ba'od yom, in order to be makabel Shabbos while it is still day. What that means is as follows. There are many shuls, they daven Mincha Erev Shabbos 8 minutes before candlelighting. 8 minutes, before Shkia. Which means that in most cases they do not finish Shemona Esrei before the Shkia. And then they cannot be Mekayim Tosefes Shabbos, because they're still middle of davening the Shemona Esrei. It's preferable to daven at a minyan that they finish the silent Shemona Esrei before the Shkia, and then as soon as you finish the silent Shemona Esrei, you orally declare to yourself that you're Mekabel upon yourself Tosefes Shabbos. So, in some shuls they daven 10 minutes before, so at least the quiet Shemona Esrei is over before the Shkia, and you could still be Mekayim this. But at least you should be Makdim L'Spalel Erev Shabbos in order to Mekabel Shabbos Mi Ba'od Yom. The Mishnah Berurah says, fortunate is someone who already accepts the Shabbos 30 minutes before Shkia, or at the very least 20 minutes before Shkia. But again, what the Rosh is saying is that you want to be finished Mincha before the Shkia. I'm friendly with Rav Shai Shachter, of Hershel Shachter's son, and he came to our neighborhood for Sukkos. So I asked Rav Shai if we could have the privilege of hosting his father for one of the nights of Yom Tif in our shul. So I invited Rav Hershel Shachter, and he graciously accepted, and he spoke in our shul the first night of Sukkos. And I had the privilege to pick him up for the davening. But I could not pick him up in the car, because he makes sure to daven Mincha very early Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tif, and already for well before candlelighting, he's already been Mekabel the Shabbos. So that's just a Ma'aser Rav. Okay, Ois Chaf. Kesheyagia is Tefillah Mishalish Tefillah Shabayim. When the time comes for any of the 3 tefillos of the day, Yaniach Kol Asakav, you should forego all of your affairs, all of your business, v'yispalel, and pray. Reb Chaim Kanievsky says this comes from the Gemara Brachas Daf Yodalid, Rav Idi bar Abin, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ishan. It is also for a person to do his chafetzim before he davens. Shenemar tzedek lefanav yahalech v'yasim lederach pe'amav. And this is paskin in our Chaim Sim Peites of Katan Gimel. Asr loy lehisasik b'tzrachav oylelech ledrachav until you daven Shemona Esrei. Now, from the Rosh, it seems that this is not only for Shachris, but Mincha and Marav as well. And Rav Goldberg asks on that l'chayra this Gemara is referring to Shachris, but because by Shachris you're not allowed to do anything before Tefillah Shachris, but one would not necessarily think that it applies before Mincha. But the Rosh is equating that the same way one should be careful not to take care of their personal stuff right before Shachris. One should not do so before Mincha. As soon as the Zman Tefillah comes, leave everything you're in the middle of. V'roish kol advarim. The chief custom, the chief practice, sheyishmar es einav mikol davar she'eino shalai. You should guard your eyes for something that does not belong to you. Don't look at things that are not yours. Oh, look at that guy's car, his new car. Don't even look at it. Whoa, look at they just fixed up their house. Why are you looking at it? Oh, they just got new windows. Don't even look at it. Don't look at something that you don't own, because it would just cause jealousy. You're better off guarding your eyes, not even to look at something that doesn't belong to you. So the question is, okay, that might be a very saintly practice, and as we mentioned, the Rosh wrote this for himself. But why does he juxtapose it to the din of tefillah? Why does he connect it to one should not be involved in something at the time of tefillah and guard your eyes from anything that doesn't belong to you? So apparently this is very connected to tefillah. Rabbeinu Yoina writes in Parakei of Brachos that when it says the mispalel needs to put his eyes down and his heart above, you need to think in your heart as if you're standing in Shamayim and remove all the tanugei olam hazeh. And the Rosh is adding that the only way really to elevate yourself and to cut yourself off during tefillah from the tanugei olam hazeh is guard your eyes, not even to see something that doesn't belong to you. Now, in the Perush Ari Cheskel of Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein, he says that it's known the Rosh wrote Orchos Chaim for himself. And you see the great Yer Shamayim of the Rosh, that he was afraid even to look at something that didn't belong to him, lest it confuse his tefillah. Rav Volba says, what's the connection between not looking at something that doesn't belong to you and tefillah? He says tefillah is the inner internal world, and a person has to free himself from all externalities. So what should he do? But desire burns in one's heart, so you need to guard your eyes from anything, and don't give room for any chemda. By the way, this comes from Mesachas Derech Eretz. Al titein einecha l'mamoin she'eino shalcha. And interesting, I think we mentioned the other day that Rabbi Eliyahu Lapian, he made a takana, the personal takana, that he would not gaze out of his siddur from Baruch She'amar until Shemona Esrei. But apparently, this type of discipline and self-control, this is not even talking about looking at something indecent or immodest, but just simply something that doesn't belong to a person. This is a shemira to be able to have a certain high degree of concentration and focus during tefillah. Okay, we'll hold over here. Bez Hashem, pick it up on next week. Thanks, Owen, for joining. Tonight at 7:45, there is a special shir, L'Kavod, the new Sefer, which is on its way, Bez Hashem, and it's available now for order on our website. And at 8:30 is our regular Parsha shir. Everyone stay tuned. Kol Tov, have a great day. Bracha v'atzlacha.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.